Good afternoon. It's 1 p.m. here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, and this is The Ambassador. With me, your Ambassador Paul Mathenge, and this is where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Now, to our very first story, the U.S. House of Representatives has narrowly passed President Donald Trump's sweeping budget legislation, the One Big Beautiful Bill, which extends tax cuts, funds large-scale deportations, and significantly cuts social safety net programs. Overcoming resistance within his own party, Trump hailed the bill as a transformative victory that reshapes federal spending and immigration enforcement. Here is more on the same.
218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
The U.S. House of Representatives has narrowly approved President Donald Trump's ambitious budget plan, known as the One Big Beautiful Bill. The legislation extends significant tax cuts, allocates tens of billions of dollars towards mass deportations, and makes deep cuts to social safety net programs designed to support low-income Americans. This sweeping package marks one of most significant legislative victories since entering office.
When you go over the bill, it was very easy to get him to a yes. You know, we went over that bill, and point after point, biggest tax cut in history, great for security, great on the southern border, immigration is covered. We covered just about everything. Again, it's the biggest bill ever signed of its kind.
Despite facing strong opposition from some members of his own Republican Party, Trump successively rallied enough support to pass the controversial bill. He hailed the legislation as transformative, emphasizing its focus on reducing government spending and strengthening immigration enforcement. Supporters argue that the bill promotes economic growth and national security, while critics warn it will increase hardships for vulnerable populations.
Speaker, this is extraordinary. This assault on everyday Americans, assault on children, veterans, seniors, people with disabilities. It's incredible to me. All of this in this one big ugly bill.
Take your time.
Ripping food away from children, literally. Ripping food out of the mouths of hungry children, hungry veterans, and hungry seniors. Mr. Speaker, that's not America. We're better than that.
The passage of the bill underscores deep divisions within American politics over social welfare and immigration policies. As the debate continues, many Americans are closely watching how these changes will impact communities nationwide. The One Big Beautiful Bill signals a bold shift in federal priorities, with consequences likely to be felt across the country in the incoming months.
Bring you more on that story as it develops. Now, a prominent figure in South African politics has passed away. Former Deputy President David Mabuza, a senior member of the African National Congress, has died at the age of 64. Mabuza was instrumental in shaping the country's political landscape in recent years and played a key role in President Cyril Ramaphosa's rise to power. Here is a look back at his life and legacy.
Mabuza, former Deputy President of South Africa and a senior leader in the African National Congress ANC, has died at the age of 64. Local media report he passed away in hospital, though no official cause of death has been confirmed. Mabuza played a crucial role in backing Cyril Ramaphosa's rise to the ANC presidency in 2017, paving the way for Ramaphosa to lead the country.
I thought at 60 I'll retire because I want to have time with my family, my children, visit, stay with them. At the age of 60,
He served as deputy president from 2018 to 2023 and before that as premier of Mpumalanga province for nearly a decade. Known as a quiet but influential figure, Mabuza stepped away from frontline politics after his resignation but returned briefly in 2024 to support the ANC election campaign. The ANC praised him as a disciplined and committed leader who dedicated his life to public service. From the struggle against apartheid to national leadership, David Mabuza leaves behind a complex but impactful legacy in South African politics. Elvin Muyodi, GBS.
Thank you, Elvis Muyodi, for that analyzed story. And now, the IMF praised Senegal for acting to engage reforms to strengthening its economy, while also working with the IMF to clarify and amend its debt position after it uncovered misreporting of how much the African countries owned creditors, a spokesperson said Thursday in Washington, D.C. The IMF, a key financier for the debt-laden country, froze disbursements on its program with Senegal last year after an audit under new President Bassirou Diomaye Faye found the previous administration had underestimated deficit, pushing its end 2023 debt ratio to roughly 100% of GDP, versus the previously reported 74%. Susan Nganga with more.
The International Monetary Fund has commended Senegal's new government for its bold steps towards economic reform and transparency. At a press briefing, IMF Communication Director Julie Kozak praised the West African country for confronting fiscal challenges head-on. Senegal's reform efforts comes after the International Monetary Fund discovered misreporting of its debt under the previous administration. An ongoing audit revealed the country's debt ratio at the end of 2023 was nearly 100% of GDP, much higher than the earlier reported 74%. The fund paused disbursements to Senegal, but says it remained engaged and awaits the final audit report before determining the next steps.
We strongly welcome the new government's commitment to transparency in revealing the discrepancies in the reported debt and the fiscal deficits. The authorities are conducting their own audit, and that audit is ongoing. We understand that the audit is close to being finalized, and we're waiting for its completion to better understand the challenges and how we can move forward. And so ultimately, as we wait for that report, we are going to refrain from kind of commenting on any numbers. We're waiting for the report, and we will remain very closely engaged.
Turning to Egypt, Kozak highlighted the country's continued progress under its economic reform program. To support Egypt's efforts, IMF will combine the fifth and sixth reviews of the country's $8 billion loan program this fall, giving the government more time to meet key targets.
Egypt continues to make progress under its macroeconomic reform program, and we can say that there's been notable improvements in inflation and in the level of foreign exchange reserves, which have increased. To move further and to really safeguard macroeconomic stability in Egypt and to bolster the country's resilience to shocks, it is essential to deepen reforms. And this is particularly important to reduce the state footprint in the economy, level the playing field, and improve the business environment.
But while countries like Senegal and Egypt are progressing, the fund warned of a growing global challenge, the steep decline in international aid.
On the aid side, what we've been warning about for quite some time is that official development assistance in general has been on a declining downward trend for many, many years. And we see the impact of the decline in official development assistance in low-income countries. So this is a broad trend that we observe globally across many countries affecting low-income countries.
The Monetary Fund is urging nations to find new ways to fund development by mobilizing domestic resources, improving fiscal policy, and working with global partners.
But what it means for those countries is that they are going to have to both, work with, the IMF, other MDBs, donors who are still providing financing, but most importantly, those countries are going to need to look for ways to mobilize domestic resources so that they can fund many of their own development needs.
Susan Nganga, GBS News.
The ambassador will take a short break. We will be right back with more as we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics.
Hello, boys and girls. How are you today? Because I am very, very happy. So we are on Kids Mind on GBS TV.
Today we're going to make ta-da! A boba tea letter set.
We are moving to singing class.
Skinamarinky dinky ding, skinamarinky doo. I love you.
The tortoise and the hare. Friends, do you know about this story?
Now you're finished to make.
Enjoy yourselves, everybody. Hello, my name is Nyabio. I'm from Mahanim. Called this school a good school because the second my mom saw it, she saw it was Christian-based. And when I see Christian-based, that's what the character my mother wants for me. And I like the sports that we play for PE. Like sometimes we play table tennis, we can play football, we match, and on Fridays we have games. And we verse the teachers in football. And this is why I think the school is the best school your children can go to.
A student can transition from other curriculums, such as the Kenyan CBC curriculum, the Pearson Edexcel curriculum, and the IB curriculum, to the Cambridge curriculum.
My name is Imagatoru. I'm a model, a commercial model to be precise. And I've been asked this question, like, is model an art? And yes, modeling is an art. Because there are different products that you're supposed to promote or design, and you have to have that skill of you promoting that design or that product. So how you walk, how you talk, how you present yourself, like how you pose for a picture or pose for an item in your mepewa, or how you drive into a place in your mepewa. So you have to have that art or that skill for you to actually deliver what they want you to deliver. So yeah, modeling is an art.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the Ambassador. And now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India landed in Trinidad and Tobago yesterday evening. He was welcomed by his host, Prime Minister Kamla. The two-day state visit aims at strengthening ties between India and Trinidad and Tobago. Let's take a listen.
Right away from Ghana to Trinidad and Tobago, the 8-day tour of 5 nations in the global south continues for India's Prime Minister. Shri Narendra Modi. As the plane carrying him landed in Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Kamla Persad Bissesa was ready to receive him. Prime Minister Modi was accorded a grand and heartwarming welcome, complete with traditional music, cultural performances and roaring cheers. Prime Minister Persad Bissesa honored Prime Minister Modi grandly as the latter proceeded to address the Indian community at a community event.
This evening, we are graced by the presence of someone near and dear to us. We are graced by a leader whose visit is not just a matter of protocol, but a profound honor for us. And so I am deeply privileged to join everyone here to welcome one of the world's most respected, most admired visionary leaders, the Honorable Shri Narendra Modi ji, Prime Minister of the Republic of India, and his delegation on this very historic state visit to Trinidad and Tobago.
It is a matter of immense pride and joy for me to be with all of you this evening. I thank Prime Minister Kamla ji for her wonderful hospitality and kind words. I arrived a short while ago in this beautiful land of hummingbirds.
The two-day state visit marks a new chapter of friendship between the two nations, being the first visit to the Caribbean nation since Prime Minister Modi took power in 2014. More than a third of the population in Trinidad and Tobago is of Indian descent. Besides, it is a part of a wider Latin America tour that will also include stopovers in Argentina and Brazil. Victor Ujun, the ambassador.
The UK Labour Party is facing a sharp decline in support from its traditional working class base just 1 year after winning a historic landslide election. Prime Minister Keir Starmer approval ratings have plummeted to record lows amid growing backlash over proposed benefit cuts for vulnerable citizens, sparking internal volatile among Labour MPs and raising questions about the party's direction and leadership. Here is that report.
Just 1 year after securing a landslide general election victory, Britain's Labour Party is grappling with a sharp decline in popularity, particularly among its traditional base, the working class. Despite taking office with widespread public support, Prime Minister Keir Starmer is now facing mounting criticism within his own party across the country. Polls show that working class approval of the Labour Party has hit an all-time low, raising concerns about the party's ability to maintain its electoral stronghold.
I don't know what's happened with the Labour Party. It's gone from the old days, you know, that the Labour Party was looking after the workers. And it's gone the other way, I think.
At the heart of the backlash is Starmer's controversial proposal to reduce the social benefits for the country's most vulnerable citizens. The plan has sparked internal revolt, with a growing number of Labour members of Parliament voicing opposition to what they see as betrayal of the party's core values. Critics argue that the move alienates the very communities that propelled Labour to power and risk deepening inequality at a time when many families are already struggling with rising cost of living.
There's no talk of taxing mega corporations. There's no talk of taxing the upper earners. It's all to do with either hitting the pensioners or the people on benefit.
The Prime Minister, however, insists that the reforms are necessary to ensure long-term economic stability. But with these approval ratings plummeting and discontent growing within the Rank Party, questions are being raised about Starmer's leadership and Labour's future direction. As the party marks its first year in government, the celebration is overshadowed by political infighting and warning public trust, particularly from those who once counted Labour as their political home. Beatrice Wangoi, Ambassador News.
Now the Middle East news. The death of an experienced Ukrainian F-16 fighter pilot in battle against Russian drones shows the high-risk tactics Kyiv will increasingly adopt if it is unable to obtain critical new air defenses, a senior commander said on Tuesday. Dozens of people have been killed during intensifying Russian airstrikes on Ukrainian sites in recent weeks. A trade officials have said will worsen if Kyiv's allies do not step up supplies of critical munitions.
Somber procession walked through Kyiv on Thursday as onlookers took a knee to pay their respects to F-16 fighter pilot Maxim Utmenko. Utmenko was killed on June 29th after shooting down 7 Russian Shahed drones during a massive attack that included hundreds of drones as well as missiles. Oleg Zalchuk, deputy commander of Ukraine Western Air Command, said that the experienced pilot death in battle shows the high-risk tactics Kyiv will increasingly adopt if it is unable to obtain crucial new air defenses. Its warning comes day after the Pentagon said it was posting some supplies of arms Ukraine needs to defend its cities, including missiles carried by F-16s.
All must understand that there is no such thing as enough weapons. Therefore, if we cannot use the missiles because we do not get them, then it will be very difficult. It means that one means of destruction of air targets will not work.
Zalchuk said the pilot first fired all of the jet's air-to-air missiles, then resorted to firing his plane's cannons, a risky tactics that requires pilots to get close to the drones.
A flight to perform a military task is a risk itself, while firing a cannon is a triple risk. But to take into consideration other things too. If we do not shoot down a Shahed drone, and it falls on a settlement, on a building, and people die, what should we choose? Of course, we choose to destroy air targets, despite how difficult and risky it is.
Deputy Air Force Commander said at the ceremony, Utmenko was among the first 12 pilots to train on the prized American-made fighter, which Kyiv began deploying last August. Reporting for... Now, Liverpool fans are in mourning after star forward Diogo Jota and his brother were tragically killed in a car crash in Spain yesterday. The 28-year-old, who had just married his long-time partner days earlier, died when the Lamborghini veered off the road and caught fire. Anfield has since become a site of remembrance, with fans leaving flowers, scarves, and emotional tributes. The crash, which happened on the A52 motorway near Canadilla, has shocked the football world. Jota has recently enjoyed success with Liverpool and the Portuguese national team, and tributes have poured in from teammates, a rival, and global football figures. Let's take a listen from the same.
Sprang out of bed immediately, and I couldn't believe it. I absolutely couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it at all.
He was somber, but I better sing his name the whole game. Like when Shankly passed away, Shankly, and could hear it. And the hair stand up, and lose someone hurts us. We've been through a lot, you know what I mean? Even if you're older, you pass away and belong to the club, it hurts. But when something like that happens, it's a tragic.
I cried instantly. He's the only reason I actually started to watch. Well, it's not the reason I started watching Liverpool because I grew up as a Liverpool fan. But yeah, he's like my main player in the team, and if he was subbed, I'd be fuming and I wouldn't watch the rest of the game. And if he wasn't on the starting 11 but he was on the bench and he'd come on, then I'd start watching because he was literally the only player I enjoyed watching on the pitch for some reason.
And that's all for today. With me, your Ambassador Paul Mathenge on the Ambassador 1 p.m. Follow all of our stories at GBS TV. It's updated throughout the day. We meet every Thursday and Friday as we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Thank you for your time and company.
Everywhere, GBS.